What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Copy podcast. This is the Athletic Club post-match reaction show, the first game to Mick Moran, and I'm joined by John Gibbons once again. I know you were on a pod on the pint not long ago, but yeah, thought I'd snag you while we're here in the press conference room. But yeah, Liverpool 4, Athletic Club 1. First thing that comes to my mind is Rio and Gamoa. He's unbelievable. It's hard because he's not 17 for I think 3.5 weeks, but the ability that he's got, I mean, it needs to be like, obviously we need to temper our expectations because he is so young, but you can't help but be excited, can you?
No, you can't. I mean, you say it's the first thing that came to your mind. It was almost the first thing that happened in the game, wasn't it? You know, it was so early, everyone was still settling in and you know, finding the feet almost. And listen, his feet are special, aren't they? He's a phenomenal footballer, and like you say, you don't want to get too carried away, but I can't remember a player at his level at 16, you know, because even like the great young players that we've had, they weren't playing for us at 16. You know, I know it's only a friendly game, but you know, the likes of Gerard Fallow and like they weren't around the first team at this stage. They were still developing and still playing in the youth team. So the fact that he's here, he's scoring goals and he's lighting it up how he is, it is so exciting. And yeah, I love watching him play. I love his confidence. I love his style. I love the way he always tries to make things happen. And you know, he has got that youthful kind of exuberance and attitude of fuck it, I'll just run at him and have a go. And it's great to watch. And we'll see what the season brings, but he's certainly got a very bright future.
Yeah, I think it maybe would have been a bit more difficult, but of course the Diaz stuff, he's obviously now, Lewis has now left, as we know, so that it doesn't give him an opening, so to put like a little tiny bit of a gap there where that is his preferred position on the left hand side. Gakpo is going to be obviously the first choice in there, but we still don't know what's going to happen with more people coming in, the likes of Isak and stuff. Obviously we've got Ekatike, who he's going to probably play as a 9, but he can play on that left hand side as well. What I said, Ngamo, I think it was the second minute, wasn't he? Picks it up on the halfway line, and he basically runs forward, and you just go, have a go, lads. And he just slots the bottom corner, and yeah, like we said, it's hard not to get excited, but I think just like I said, with the Diaz stuff, with that little gap opening up there, it's exciting times for what he could do, and I think again as well to temper those expectations. I think the team that he's in and the manager he's working under, they'll make sure his feet are well and truly grounded. Like, there's no way he's going to be allowed to be overconfident or whatever, because he has got that style, hasn't he? But in terms of like his level-headedness on the field and putting in the hard yards, like putting in the hard work and stuff, that's what we need to see from him as well, isn't it? I
mean, well, you saw from that training video with Andy Robertson, didn't we? That you know, he's it's very much that kind of environment where people do keep your feet on the ground, but you know, I'm sure he's a grounded lad himself. When I've heard him speak on the few times he's done interviews, he seems, you know, very level-headed, very mature for the lad his age, and so I'm sure he knows, you know, how much work needs to go into to be a professional footballer at a club like Liverpool. You know, even today he's fantastic, but he tails off towards the end, and so it doesn't look like quite he's got, you know, has he got a Premier League start in him in terms of his fitness? No, but we'll see plenty off the bench, and like you say, it does feel like there's a bit of an opportunity. There's still question marks about our forward line. Darwin Núñez looks like he's going to move on. What's going to happen with Chiesa? It's gone a bit quiet on him, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's one where there's a bit of movement sort of later in the window where people are looking around and suddenly, you know, an offer comes in, and so there might be another 2 out in terms of ins. There's Isaac, possibly one more if Chiesa goes, sort of, who knows, but so there's going to be a lot of quality ahead of him, but in terms of quantity, I think it might end up being a little bit less. I think, you know, it was 6 forwards last season who were men.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then all the sort of younger players who maybe started the season ahead of him, the likes of Jayden Danns. I think now he is the next cab off the rank, although it was great to see Jayden Danns back in the team after his injuries. But I think, you know, now he's moved up in terms of the younger players, in terms of the pecking order with his quality. But also we might find one instead of 6, there's 5 or even 4, you know, to move ahead of, and so suddenly you're thinking, well, if there's a League Cup game, I'm starting, and that's what he needs at the moment.
Yeah, especially like, because you look on the other flank, it's Ben Doak, and he was probably in the same position Rio and Gamoa was in a couple of seasons ago. He's like, this is the next. I remember like a nice little turn on Lucas Dean where he like sent him for an echo and just and span him against the Aston Villa, and that was only like a small glimmer, but we saw how good he was on the loan. probably helped him as well. I think he done okay today, but it's hard to, because it is a friendly. Like it's hard to like get a true picture. But what do you think about Ben Doak in terms of like what his future?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Like you said, Rio Ingabo has probably moved ahead of him now, and I think when you're a young player, if there's someone who's younger and they look better, to be perfectly honest, I think that's when you maybe start to see, okay, the manager think, well, is it better if he's going elsewhere? I think when you're the young guy, everything sort of seems possible. When there's another guy who's younger and maybe a little bit better already, then it's hard to see where the opportunities come from. I agree with you. I think the loan has been good for him. I think a couple of years ago when you're talking about he was very exciting, but maybe the end product wasn't quite there. He gets his goal today, although I think the goalkeeper had literally a hand in it. It looked to me from our view like it was going wide, and it sort of got palmed in. But listen, it's still the end product, isn't it? It's a goal or an assist, depending on who you want to give it to. And so I think he is a better player now, and I think he'll have a really good career. I'm just not quite sure it's at Liverpool, just because the level is so high and the standard's so high, and the manager's proven in the past that his level is incredibly high in terms of what he expects from a Liverpool player. So I think he'll either go on loan, or if there's a decent bid for him, permanent. But I think he'll have a really good career because he's an exciting player, and you know, you certainly enjoy watching him. Every time he gets the ball, you think something's going to happen, and those players are quite rare.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of them, like, where maybe these players have it's just unfortunate with the timing, because I always look at the likes of Tyler Morton. If he would have came through maybe 15 years ago, he probably would have had a good chance of getting it and making a bit of a name for himself in the side, and because he's a talented player. But obviously, he looks like he's going to be going off to Lyon for 50 million again, which is great business. But another player, we talked about Nunes, who did score as well, and that was an assist for Ngamoa, so goal and assist for Ngamoa. Like, not like he needs bigging up anymore, like, do you know what I mean? But another player who scored, who's question marks over the future, is Harvey Elliott, isn't it? And I think, I don't know, at the end he was like clapping the crowd, and I think it was mad because he always said like the right stuff in terms of like, I want to stay here for the rest of my life, blah 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 blah. And then end of the season, it seemed like a conversation had happened where a line had been drawn, and he was more like, I'm going to have to probably maybe look elsewhere to get those minutes. And I think it's maybe similar to what you were saying with Doak. There's quality in there, but it's just because the level's up there, it's so difficult to see where he will fit in terms of long-term plans, isn't it? Yeah,
when you talk about Rio Ingabo being younger than Ben Doak, well, Florian Wirtz is younger than Harvey Elliott, exactly. and so he's seen someone come in for all this money and thinking, well, he's going to play. I can't really use being a young player as a justification for not getting the minutes anymore. I think with Elliott, I agree with you. I was convinced at the end of the season he would go, and then the longer it goes on, the more I have my doubts, just because there is so many players leave, and they might decide, okay, well, are we better off with a bit of continuity? He's such a good sub as well. He's an excellent substitute. I think he comes on and impacts games. I remember interviewing him, and he talked about how he watches games and how he, figures out how he's going to make an impact when he comes on, and you can see him do that because, how many times has he done it? So he's a good sub, he's a good pro, he's a good footballer. So I just wonder whether it all depends on what the offer comes in. Is an offer comes in that tempts Liverpool enough to sell him, and is there an offer that tempts him enough? Who's the football club? I've seen some stuff around Spurs recently who'd be a good move for him. I think James Maddison's apparently just got a bit of a nasty injury, so is that the impetus to go out and get them? I think it's, I won't want him see him leave just for the sake of it and just go somewhere and just think, well, I need to play, so I'm going to go to any club. I think it needs to be a right club. I think it needs to be a good club. Spurs have obviously got European football next year and is a massive club, and so he might feel like that's a good move for him if it does happen. But I'm sort of getting to the point now where I wouldn't be surprised if, pass the parcel and it goes round and the music stops and he's still here. Is that the right analogy, or is it more musical chairs?
Musical chairs,
yeah. Only so many chairs come out, so many come in, and suddenly Harvey's still here. That's probably a better analogy.
Yeah, it takes me back to childhood where you just scrapping over that last chair and just having pure fights in that. But yeah, the first game has happened, but the second game is going to be happening shortly. A much stronger side. What are your expectations going into the second one?
I mean, high based on that first game, because, like you said, it was in theory a weaker team. Well, it was a weaker team on paper, but they played great, and they really took it to Bilbao from the off, and so I'm excited. First chance for a lot of people to see Florian Wirtz. A few of us have seen him a couple of times already.
But like, if you're off jet set into Hong Kong and that, you get that opportunity.
For 99% of the crowd, it's the first chance to see him, and so I think he'll enjoy it. I think he'll enjoy playing at Anfield for the right team. Obviously, he's played here before, but I think he'll enjoy it. I think the crowd will enjoy him. He's talked before about players that make things happen. I mean, he's definitely one of those. And Gakpo's looked sharp in pre-season, so I think, expecting, more quality from him as well. I think Salah, he'll probably score, but I think if you're Mo Salah going on to breathe in pre-season, he's just there to get a bit in his legs and sort of run about a little bit. But for someone like Florian Wirtz, who I think has played within himself so far in pre-season, but I think will maybe use this opportunity in front of a sellout crowd to show everybody what he's got. Yeah, definitely first taste for us to see him at Anfield as well, which, like you said, John's going to be absolutely, can't wait. But yeah, cheers, John. We'll leave it there. Nice one. That's first game done and dusted. We'll probably try and get someone else. Or might get John. We might see John again for the second part of the second game. But yeah, nice one. What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Copway podcast. This is the post-match reaction show to Liverpool against Athletic Club, 3-2 to the Reds. I'm joined by two very special guests. I've got midfield maestro Ray Houghton and commentator John Bradley. But yeah, pleasure to have you on, fellas. Pleasure to be here. we've just crammed into the press box after the press conference room after the game. But I'll start with you, Ray. What as a former midfield maestro, Florian Wirtz he's special in those pockets and in those areas. Yeah, he's just absolutely
when you look at, like, it was his first game here at Anfield as a Liverpool player, and I'm sure his expectations were high. He'd be really looking forward to the game. He would have probably watched the first match and seen the reaction of the crowd and what they were like, but to come out and sample it yourself, so different, and I'm sure he wanted just to get off to the best possible start. I thought he was lively. He always looked available, always wanted to get on the ball. Could have got one or two goals himself. He was involved in some of the chances that Liverpool created, and overall be delighted with his performance. Now, it's going to be difficult for him in the sense that he's come here as a £100 million plus player, and that brings its own pressure, if you like, as much as not only that, but you want to do as well as you can at your new club, and you want to showcase your talent to the Liverpool public, and I thought he got off to a very good start tonight.
Yeah, and John, similar question to you in terms of a lot of new players. Like, you look through that starting 11 today, we've got Mamardashvili, you've got Frimpong, Kerkez, Ekatike, Wirtz, so many new players in there, and I thought the signs, in terms of it being early days, were very, very promising, weren't they?
I think there were moments when Liverpool scored that first goal, that the football they played for 5-10 minutes after it was quite invigorating. The way they moved the ball, the way that they sort of like, it was so fluid and it was so fast, and you were like, almost taking your breath away. And there were 10 minutes where the Bilbao players, who were top class players, playing the Champions League this year, fourth in Spain last year, and they couldn't live with them, and they got a set piece to get back in the game. They got a couple of set pieces, but at times Liverpool played some football there with a group of players who've just come together in difficult circumstances over the last few weeks, but they look like they've been together for years.
I was really impressed with Ekatike tonight. I think we've saw from maybe Darwin Núñez, he's got all of the endeavour and he's got the pace and the power, but those little moments where you need to link up, I think for the first goal especially, where he's down that left hand side, pushes someone aside, brushes him off, gets to the byline and whips it in, and Salah does what Mo Salah does best and scores. But it's those little, again, like Wirtz, in those tight areas, I thought he was really impressive.
Yeah, he was, and he'll be delighted with his minutes he had on the pitch tonight. It's difficult when you've come as a young lad and you're only playing a vital role, which is a centre forward role. He's one of these players that can play in a variety of positions. I don't think you can pigeonhole players anymore as just number 9. Yeah. He can come a little bit deeper and get involved in the build-up, like we've seen that from him. And where he done really well was on the left wing, and you were saying about how he held off the player. That showed his upper body strength, because when you look at him, he's not physically imposing. He's not like an old-fashioned centre forward. He's quite lithe, but I thought he held on to the ball well, held off the player, and then he was so purposeful when he went at the defender Vivian. He just done the little step over, got to the byline, and then the vision, the awareness to pull it back into the path of Mo was really good to see. Then Mo does what Mo does when he, gives the goalkeeper the eyes. He's going to put it in the far corner, and he puts it into the near post, and there's nothing the keeper can do about it. But what he'll want is to start scoring early, because there's nothing better when you're, and I'm only going back my own time, when John Aldridge came to the club, all he wanted to do was get his first goal. He wanted to get off and running, because when you're coming as a goal scorer or a striker, the fans expect goals. And if you can start putting the ball on the back of the net, and I'm not talking about scoring every week, I'm just saying get off and running, they're on side with you, they start shouting out your name and you feel very much part of it. At the moment, he's just still learning where he should be in the positions he should be taking up. But overall, another positive performance. I thought, we were saying on air, well, I was saying on air, John, I thought Frimpong was excellent tonight. I thought, his starting positions was very, very good. At times he was like a right winger alongside Mo Salah
as well, isn't it? Because the biggest question mark, the voices outside Liverpool has been, he can't play right back, because he's an ex-forward who plays right wing back. Well, he's played against Nico Williams in that game. And Nico Williams didn't have much joy, where Nico Williams nearly went this summer, and the talent he's got. But Frimpong, love his attitude. He's a little man with a massive amount of character, and he's going to become a real firm favourite. You can see with the supporters, as is Milos Kerkez on the other side. He's old school. He just loves tackling people and then chasing the ball and running 60 yards with it. So you can see that these players that Liverpool have brought in, it's not just about the football ability, it's about them as personalities.
You don't always get that, John. You've been here a long time commentating Liverpool matches, and you've seen players come into the club, and not everyone settles in that quickly. And I would say that everyone that we've seen, they've all settled in. It's not like some are taking longer than others. I thought Kirkish grew into the game. He's defensive. You've seen in the first half his defensive qualities, because Frimpong was the one that was getting forward. So you've seen what Frimpong can offer as an attacking player, and the balls he delivered into the box. Kirkish, you can see his defensive attributes, which came to the fore. And then we're talking about the other players and what they had to offer. Everyone's came in and did what they needed to do, which was to impress the Liverpool supporters public. So the fans have came to watch him tonight. They've seen the couple of games that they've played recently, and they've been excited by it. But it's nothing better when you see them in the flesh themselves, and that's what 60,000 fans that came into the game tonight seen with the Liverpool new boys. And I thought they all done themselves proud tonight in what they tried to do, and the level that they were playing with their other clubs. They've come in and doing exactly the same for Liverpool, and that all bodes well for the rest of the season.
It's interesting as well, because when they've signed Florian Wirtz, he's come in as one of the most in-demand players in European football. Suarez wasn't. When Liverpool signed him, it was a bit of a left field sign. He was good at Ajax, he'd done really well. But, a lot of people were still wondering who he was. Torres probably the last one, sort of, who came in as a global star, as Fernando Torres was. But you can see from Florian Wirtz that he loves it. He's relishing the weight on those shoulders. And you can see he wants to be here. He wants to be part of it. He wants to be central to Liverpool moving forward. And the players they've all brought in are all young. They could be here for a decade or so, and it's just really, really exciting to think what they could become, and hopefully, they hit the ground running. I mean, you talk about Hugo Ekitike wanted to. Remember Peter Crouch could score when he first got it. Dirk Kuyt, for every Suarez and Torres hitting the ground running, there's a player that struggles. But he'll be keen to get off the mark, and who knows what else he's going to happen.
His general play, his general play, Ekitike was good. His link-up play was good. His movement's good. He's always an option. So there's no question about that. But just saying, if you're a striker, one of the things you want to hit the back of the net, and then you say, "I've arrived. Here I am." But when new players come in, you're always wondering how they're going to, be part of the setup, how they're going to, improve the team. That's one of the things. How are these players that come in for a lot of money? How are they going to improve the team? Are they going to improve the team? Have they got the credentials to do? We know they've got the ability, but there's different credentials than that. Is, can you live up to the hype of being a Liverpool player? Liverpool are retaining, holders of the Premier League. So now everyone's going to try and beat them.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter where you're playing, home or away. Everyone wants to beat Liverpool when it comes to the league. So the players are now going to have to elevate themselves. I think the players who are here currently have looked at them and went, you'll do us. That's how I've looked at them. They've looked and went, you know what, brilliant. And what it has done, in my opinion, what I've seen of them, is elevated the other players that are already here, because they know if I'm not on my game, these boys are ready to step into the position. So the competition for places is going to be fierce. Going to be good from the manager's point of view, because you've now got a deeper squad to call upon. He's got different types of players that can do things as far as the squad's concerned. He can play different, maybe formations against different opposition, depending who the opposition is. But it's healthy. What I've seen in the 2 games tonight, all the boys are all fighting to get in his starting 11, which bodes well for the manager.
Yeah, and I think we've waxed lyrical about these new players, but I think what you just said there, Ray, about the players that were there, I thought Ryan Gravenberch was absolutely outstanding tonight. Those little, the way he just let the ball run past him and jinx past, he does that. It makes it look easy, but it's so difficult because
I thought he grew into the game. I thought by the end of it, I said to you, John, he's actually better now than he was last season. Looking at him, he's improved as a player over the few months he's been away. But the one that stood out to me tonight, who it's really, he knows he's got to be on it to keep you retaining his position, was Dominic Szoboszlai. I thought Dominic, he made one error with a pass out, we should give the ball away, we gave them a half a chance, but apart from that, I thought he really looked on his game. He made some great runs into the box, always passed the ball positively, always looked in good positions to do the right thing. He looked really fit to me. He looked super fit in the game tonight. And when you've got the like we were just talking about, you've got Curtis Jones, you've got Harvey Elliott, you've got Alexis McAllister, you've got the 3 boys tonight. There's so many players in that vicinity, in that area of the field. Liverpool are as strong as they've been for a while in that area because of the different diversity of players that you've got, the different types of players that you've got there. Didn't even mention Wirtz because I think of him a little bit higher up the pitch, but he'll be vying for them positions as well. So the manager's got a tough job just picking 3. But it's a nice position to be in.
It is, and John, I'll finish last question for you in terms of the first game.
To pick the thing for the
no. I want to talk about Rio and Gamoa a little bit because he's not 17. I think 3.5 weeks he's turned 17, which is, it's absolutely terrifying. And you want to temper all expectations because you don't want to be like, he's going to be absolutely unbelievable, because we've seen, like we said, in terms of for one Suarez, there's one Kaut, or for whatever, in terms of like goal scoring or early starts, whatever. There's for one Sterling, there's one Jordan Ibe in that regard. So I mean, I remember seeing Jordan Ibe at Anfield, and I was thinking, this fella's unbelievable. But sometimes stuff gets in the way and stuff like that. So he needs to, it needs to go. He needs to have a bit of luck with injuries, but I think he's got a cool head on very young shoulders, and that was prevalent, and picks up the ball on the halfway line, runs and scores within 2 minutes at Anfield. He's hopefully got a massive future at this club, hasn't he?
I'll tell you a secret.
Go on.
He's going to be unbelievable. No, seriously. At this age, to be blessed with the talent he has, the same applies to Trainioni as well, who's got it in abundance. Now it's all about application, attitude, and how much do they want it to go to the top of the game, because they have everything their age now to be future stars of this club and potentially beyond, and it's down to them how much you want it. What we're told from everyone at the training centre is they've got that attitude, they've got that application day in, day out. They want to make it, they want to be as big as they can, and I think you've seen in pre-season they both have the everything that it takes, and you just hope they can fulfil it.
Potential's one thing. There's a lot of youngsters who've got potential, who are eye-catching, but what you need is players who want to be the very best, and that's the difference between a potential player and a real player, is they develop. They don't stop development just because of the potential. There's other attributes that they need to make them the finished player, and that is attitude and commitment. And you've got to be humble, and you've got to make sure you're focused, and you've got to make sure you're driven. And if they've got them other attributes alongside the ability they've got at the moment, the trajectory is only one way, and that's up. But that's down to them. They'll get the chance, because this club has shown over the last few years they're not afraid to put in youngsters if you're good enough. So then, when you give them the chance, you've got to be prepared and ready for whatever comes your way, but you'll get the chance.
And all they need to do is look at Mohamed Salah every day, who's the hardest working player in training, He's in the gym first, he's in the gym last. You know, he
Perfect role model, isn't it?
So his attitude, the way
perfect
that he
mentor.
lives his life, he's just the perfect person to look at and say, I need to be, you be yourself, everyone's got to be there, but if I live my life like you, if I train like you, if I follow the path that you've set, I've got a pretty good chance.
Yeah, well, perfect. We shall leave it there. Thanks to Ray, thanks to John for jumping on. That was Copy Podcast, post-match reaction show.